Does this sound like you, or maybe you know a guy that's like this? A man who lets his significant other step all over him. A guy who frustrates his wife or girlfriend because he is so afraid of conflict that nothing ever gets resolved. The boss who tells one person what they want to hear and reverses himself to please someone else. Or how about a man who lets people walk all over him because he wants a smooth and problem-free life? Or what about the dependable guy at church or the club who never says no and will never tell people that they're imposing on him? Or what about the man who seems so under control until, boom, one day he does something to blow it all up? We have author Dr. Robert Glover joining us today, and we're going to break down his great book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. There's the book right there. Let's fucking go. Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness.
All right, guys, welcome back. Hey, if you want to change your game and play a different one this year, then one of the simplest and most profound approaches is to learn the art of meditation. We have 2 courses coming up, one starting on Sunday, the 26th, and Tuesday, the 28th of January. Hey, you can sign up on our website at mentalkingmindfulness.com, where you can simply text the letters MTM to 33777 to find out more. And that said, let's just jump right into our one breath grounding practice. Let's get settled. Maybe plant your feet on the ground. And if you're able to, if it's available to you, go ahead and close your eyes. And let's just exhale and notice that exhale. Bring your attention to that exhale, holding empty, and then a nice long, slow, deep breath in, filling all the way up, holding full at the top, and letting it go, letting it go, letting it go. All right, and if your eyes were closed, go ahead and blink them open. And again, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Robert. So happy to have you here, and we're excited about this discussion. Both Will and I love this book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. And then the subtitle is A Proven Plan for Getting What You Want in Love, Sex, and Life. And I tell you what, when I read that subtitle,
covers it all, right? What else? What else did we leave out?
All right, conversation's done.
Yeah, nothing.
Just read the book.
Yeah,
that's right.
Definitely read the book.
Right. So, hey, we're going to start with just some simple groundwork, understanding kind of what not jump right into the book, but just understanding what healthy masculinity looks like. And I know you cover that in the book, but from your perspective, what do you consider to be healthy masculinity, and what do you think that looks like?
Wow. I know these kind of discussions are pretty popular nowadays, especially in the world of the internet and social media, with everybody weighing in on what is healthy masculinity. In the book, I talk about what I call an integrated man. And, that was just a term that I chose of many that I considered. Could have been a conscious man, authentic man, embodied man. I mean, there's a lot of ways that could have gone. And, and I don't know that there's any one right way of putting it. But in terms of, healthy masculinity, it's a guy, I think, that's comfortable in his own skin. He likes himself. He's integrated his dark and his light. He's able to look at all aspects of himself. He's able to let other people see all aspects of himself. He's comfortable with all of the emotional spectrum that he might feel. He's willing to embrace his power, his strength, and not dilute that or push it down to try to please other people or avoid conflict. I think he's also a guy that is on point. He's purposeful. He has passion. And I know a lot of guys struggle with that piece in particular. And knowing where you're going and having a good time while you're getting there. I think those are core pieces of what I would call is a healthy masculine in terms of just, a man having a good life and being happy. And so, I kind of just break that down. A man who's comfortable in his own skin, knows where he's going, and looks like he's having a good time getting there. I'd hang out with that guy.
Yeah, and I know we're going to get into that smooth and problem-free life. A lot of people, that I know the title is No More Mr. Nice Guy, and it's very much targeted towards men. But I know there's lots of women that act this way as well. But the seeking that smooth and problem-free life, that's the quote unquote easy way out. But ironically, in seeking that, it actually gets much more difficult. So I'm excited to talk about that a little bit more. And that healthy masculinity piece. Why is discovering and living this way in a healthy masculine way important in general, and then specifically to men?
Well, I mean, if you just think about it, just flip it. The reverse is who would want to live any other way? Who would want to not enjoy being in their own skin, not liking themselves as a person, not liking, who they are physically, emotionally, spiritually? Who would? Who would? But the truth is, as you and I know, a lot of men are walking around with a lot of inner turmoil, perhaps inner disgust, inner insecurities, not liking themselves, afraid of rocking the boat, afraid of conflict, needing external validation and approval. I mean, that's really what No More Mr. Nice Guy is all about. And it's no fun. We're constantly seeking some sense of happiness or contentment, typically externally. Oh, if I've got a woman, if I have a woman, period, or if I'm gay, if I got a guy, if they approve of me, if they want to have sex with me regularly, if they don't say hurtful things to me, if they think I'm great, if they've never criticized me, that's great. But where are we going to find that person? And we all think it's out there. But again, we all think the nice guy thinks everything's out there. If I just achieve this, if I just accomplish this, if I just avoid this, if I can just be in this place, I'll be happy. And the truth is, looking for that sense of okayness outside of ourselves never fulfills us, never gets us there. And so, we do need that inner sense of I'm okay. I like me. I like who I am. I like how I walk the planet. And we may still see things about ourselves we want to work on. We want to challenge ourselves. I've got little bracelets that just says "Do better." So the mantra for my men's program, and our mantra is "Good men doing better." We're good men. We're good. We're okay. We don't have to become better men, different men, in order to like ourselves, in order to be loved and give love. But we can do better. I mean, I can be more patient. I can be more direct. I can set better boundaries. I can get to the gym more often. I can do better, but I try not to judge myself for any of those things. So I missed the gym. Okay, I'll go tomorrow. I try to avoid that internal judgment. But a lot of men, like a good friend of mine says, he's got an internal assassin. And a lot of men do have that just harsh inner critic. You're not good enough. You're too fat. You're too skinny. Yeah, Will's hand goes up there.
Oh, mine absolutely too.
Who would love you? You don't make enough money. You're not tall enough. Even now, kind of looking at, I understand this is a new one for me, but even out in the manosphere, what's called the black pill. That basically, we had we had blue and red pill. Now we got black pill, and the black pill says for a man basically to get a woman, he's got to have status, looks, and money. Those three things: status, looks, and money. And most men look around and go, I don't have a lot of status. Maybe I'm not that great looking, or I'm not tall enough, and maybe I don't have enough money. And so their critic says, well, it's women's fault because, they're hypergamous and they only want the guys with status, looks, and money. When the truth is, I've worked with women for a long time. Actually, what they really like is a man who's comfortable in his own skin. He doesn't have to be the tallest guy, the best looking guy, the richest guy. But if he's comfortable in his own skin, likes himself, and isn't seeking their approval or validation, I found women are pretty consistently attracted to that. So we got the comfortable in their own skin. And let's say if we don't know where we're going, still going back to, what's the opposite of that healthy masculine. And a lot of men tell me that, Robert, I just don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my passion is. I usually ask them, have you been reading David Data? Yeah, I've been reading Way of the Superior Man. And I love the book. I'm actually going to a retreat with David in March with, 30 other men. So And I've been to a couple of his programs, so I love his stuff. But men will read Way of the Superior Man, and he talks a lot about purpose. Well, David approaches purpose from a karmic point of view, that you are here in this lifetime with this spiritual karma to fulfill. And that may or may not be true. I don't know. But whether we're here trying to fulfill a karmic purpose or just having a good reason to get up every morning to say, yeah, I'm glad to be alive. I'm glad for the challenges in front of me. I'm glad for the love in my life. I'm glad for all the ways I've been blessed. It is empowering to have that sense of purpose and passion. And what I tell men when they go looking for that one purpose, I go, I don't think purpose is singular. I think purpose is everything we do. Do you brush your teeth with purpose and passion? Do you shave with purpose and passion? Do you walk the dog with purpose and passion? Do you fuck your woman with purpose and passion? Do you drive to work with purpose and passion? Because I don't think we can go through life in a passionless way and then go, but one thing's going to find me, and that one thing will, illuminate me with purpose. And no, I think you get up and you wake up and say thank you and count your blessings and go live a great day. One of my mantras is I love waking up in the morning not knowing how my day is going to end. Now that's an exciting life. That's a welcoming of everything that might come my way. It's a walking through open doors of opportunity. It's a saying yes attitude to life. So that's where, when we can live that way, that's where, like the third part of that, we look like we're having a good time. And I've often said that the feminine, kind of maybe in that, David Deida, energetic model of masculine and feminine, the feminine is highly attracted. Now, feminine is women, baby, dogs, cats, money, opportunity, adventure, everything that's not nailed down, right? That's the feminine. The masculine is the constant. And so everything feminine is attracted to that constance of that masculinity, the feeling good, happy in their own skin, living with purpose and passion, looking like they're having a good time going where they're going. The feminine is highly attracted to that. I know when I talk to like female dating coaches, females that may work with men, and I use that line that the feminine is highly attracted to a man, comfortable in his own skin, knows where he's going, looks like he's having a good time going there. The women always go,
yeah, they're already swooning.
Yeah. They're getting a little flushed, maybe a little tingly down there. Going, yeah. And women will tell me. I mean, I'll talk about this stuff on airplanes to a woman sitting next to me or whatever. And women say, they'll ask me what I do. Well, I work with men around relationships. So what do you teach them? And I'll tell them, what we're talking about right here. And the women will go, can I come stand in the parking lot, after your seminars? Can you put up a website with these guys that have done your programs? Because that feminine part of the women of the world, if they're in touch with that feminine sense of wanting the good man to penetrate them, to open them, to take them places they can't take themselves. Yeah, that's hard to find. I have a lot of empathy for women out there because basically they seem to have two choices. One might be the proverbial asshole jerk, the bad boy that they tend to get attracted to because of the way they kind of activate, a lot of emotional tension and aren't too available. And then you got the wussy doormat, the nice guy. That's kind of the two options that women have to pick from. And because the wussy doormat bores them, puts them to sleep, almost causes disdain in them, the asshole jerk, the bad boy, is about the only option left. And I think the work that we're trying to do is to help men see, there is another space of being. It's not somewhere in the middle of these two. It's actually up here, to where there's a consciousness involved in it. There's a self-directedness. There's a personal empowerment. There's just a differentiated self of being able to ask, what do I want? What's my heart's desire, and follow through on that. So it's not this or this. It's up here. And women go, yeah, show me that guy. I want that guy.
Real quick, Will, I know you're going to jump in, but that black pill piece where men feel that they need to have status and riches and all this. I don't know if you saw this summer, but there was a video that kind of went viral with a young blonde lady saying that she was looking for a man in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes. and it went completely viral. And then they actually turned it into a song. I think it was a joke, but man, I think that's what that black pill is, man in finance with the trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes.
And most guys can look in the mirror and go, "That's not me.
Not me.
That's not me." And I think what happens is, I think the men that are attracted to that message already do not have a sense of self-liking, of self-love, of self-validation. And then, because of the culture we live in, and this is true for both men and women, is kind of like the proof of our lovableness, of our lovability, is our ability to attract a quality partner of the opposite sex. Well, for whatever the opposite sex means to us, right? So that's proof I'm lovable. And so if a woman goes through life and doesn't ever seem to be able to attract, a desirable man to her, often she'll feel like she's not okay. And the same thing is true for men. I think that's a relatively new phenomena, for men especially, to go, well, if I can't get, attractive women to want to date me, I must not be desirable. I must not be lovable. I must not be okay. So then that black pill message really appeals to them. Go, yeah, that's what it is. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's not my fault that I don't have looks, status, or money. It's their fault that they don't want to choose me. And to me, I just see it as a cop-out or an easy escape because, just for example, when I got divorced for my second marriage in my late 40s and got out in the dating world for the first time since college, and I sucked at it in college. I practiced nice guy seduction. I'd sit down next to a woman in class, try to answer all the questions from the professor to impress her. I'd offer to do something for her. I'd listen to her talk about her problems. I would solve something, fix something. And then, if I got a woman, I'd stay way too long just because I didn't know how to get another. So when I got out into the dating world in my late 40s and started dating, I actually couldn't believe what planet I landed on. I had women coming on to me, propositioning me, getting naked on first dates without me even like pushing or initiating at all. And, here I was almost 50, no hair, gray. I didn't have money. I actually went through a bankruptcy after I got divorced. I didn't have status unless, if you counted my book, but the book, No More Reason, had just come out. Nobody really heard of it. So I didn't have looks, status, or money. And I had no problem getting laid or getting girlfriends. So I think that theory that, it's their fault because all women want a guy with, the looks, status, and money is a way that men have found, like many other ways in modern culture, to avoid risk, to avoid being vulnerable, to avoid getting hurt, to avoid having it reinforced that they're not good enough. But again, as long as we're looking for that sense of good enough outside of ourselves, we can find tons of proof that we're not good enough if we go looking for it. Well, dad didn't love me, mom didn't love me, every girlfriend I've had, left me, didn't treat me well, cheated on me, I can't get the promotion, everybody else passes me up, I don't have enough money. If you keep looking for enough reasons to prove you're not good enough, you can find them. If you've got that inner assassin, that inner critic, it'll bring in plenty of evidence for you. And so that's where a lot of men are at. And so when we even talk about healthy masculinity, probably there's a great population of men who, number one, would never even watch this YouTube channel. And the ones that might stumble on it are probably all have a yeah, but about it. Being masculine just isn't even a good thing anymore. We're told we're toxic. We're told we're this. I can't get the woman I want. And so, whatever those guys are talking about, I don't believe what they're saying. But the truth is, we can do this work from the inside out that does create an inner sense of okayness, of enoughness, as Alan Watts would say. I love that term, enoughness. We can do that work, but it is a work. And I think it involves connecting deeply with other men. I think it involves initiation. I think it involves practice. But I'm a big fan of what one man can do, another man can do. And so one man has gone from this kind of nice guy seeking external validation, seeking a woman's love to prove I'm worth something, to a guy that's internally validated on purpose, living with passion, having a good life. If it's been done before, it can be done again. And so, that's the message that I've got for men. If you're not happy where you sit right now, okay, that's a good starting point. And there's work we can do. We don't have to become better, but we can do better.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. That's excellent. And for all the people that are still listening, because I think we got them in maybe they're curious about the healthy masculine. Let's dive into, the nice guy syndrome, the basics, the basis of your book. And, you mentioned many times this external validation, so let's talk about some of the traits of what is nice guy syndrome. And then, what are the common traits of these nice guys. I have here, it's one thing you said, trying to please a woman. They dislike this. A woman wants a man with his balls still intact. So, how do we lose our balls, right?
I've had a few women tell me that, I've yet to have a woman tell me, I like it when you're wimpy and passive and insecure. I've not had one woman tell me that. I know, I've had women say, just tell me yes, or just tell me no, or just say what you want, or just go do what you want. Just don't lie about it, hide it. No, I haven't had one woman say, I wish you were more passive. Not one. I mean, on the dance floor learning salsa, the message I kept getting was lead, be clear, be direct, don't be, passive. So you read at the beginning, from No More Mr. Nice Guy, several quick illustrations of nice guys and how their behavior manifests, whether it's in relationship, at work. I did notice you kind of stumbled over the last one about the guy that has his life perfect, and then boom, he does something to blow it all up. Now, I didn't want to assume maybe that hit an emotional, vulnerable point for you. I've done it. That's how I write all of my books. I fuck things up enough that I go, how come that's not working? Maybe there's a better way. So I'm grateful for the fuck ups because they show me what doesn't work. And so, I'm a recovering nice guy. And I started working on this piece of myself 30 plus years ago. I was in my second marriage. I had acted out. I blew some things up. My wife found out about it. She understandably was not happy. And she confronted me. Says, everybody thinks you're such a nice guy, but you're not. She says, I can't trust you. You're passive aggressive. You don't follow through. You let me down. You embarrass me in public. You can be cutting to me. She said, I'd rather be with an asshole because at least I know an asshole is going to treat me consistently bad. You treat me well. You treat me like, you love me. And then you do such hurtful things and I'm never ready. And I'm thinking, I'm the one that needs help. You're the one who's unhappy all the time, always in a bad mood, never wants to have sex anymore. Everything I do is not good enough. I go, okay. But, she was really attractive. And so I didn't want her to leave me. So I got into a 12-step group and I got into therapy and then joined a men's group. And luckily, I landed in good places. All the places, the doors that opened for me were just perfect. They were just what I needed. I got into a 12-step group where I started just opening up and revealing myself, being vulnerable, talking about things I'd never shared to reveal to anybody because I grew up fundamental Christian church. I have 2 degrees in religion. I was a fundamental minister for 8 years. The college I went to, I could have been kicked out of college for having sex or drinking. So, I grew up with, pretty fundamental. And so I had a critical father, and my mother raised me to be different from my father. I grew up with the angry feminism of the 60s and 70s that said every man's a rapist and erection's a sign of aggression. I saw bumper. If you think modern day angry feminism on TikTok and Instagram is mean, if you think hashtag me too, came after us. Oh, they were really mean back in the 60s and 70s. They just have a bigger amplification system now with social media. So I grew up during all of that. So I was going to this 12-step group just revealing me, and it just felt so liberating. And I came to really see all these things that I thought made me bad or flawed or unlovable were just beliefs I had. There was nothing about me unlovable. I got to working with a therapist who, just was very accepting as I, explored who I was and how I got to be this way, got into that men's group led by a female therapist for about 5 or 6 years in that men's group, working around sexual shame. And just a lot of things just began to shift. And as a marriage therapist, I noticed that men coming to me with or without their partners were saying, I'm a nice guy. I'm one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I treat her better than her ex. I'm raising her kids. They go to a private school. I buy her the car she wants with the leather interior. I send her on all the trips she wants to go on, blah. And it said, it's never enough. It's never good enough. When's it going to be my turn? She's always in a bad mood. She never wants to have sex anymore. I thought, I'm not the only guy thinking if I'm just a good guy, I'll be loved and liked and get my needs met. And so I started a No More Mr. Nice Guy men's group. We met every other Wednesday. I started writing just little chapters, lessons, whatever, just stuff I was learning about me as a poster child nice guy. And I was giving these guys, these lessons every other week, and they were saying, you need to write a book. You need to go on Oprah. This could be a bestseller. And their wives and girlfriends were saying, yeah, I know somebody else that needs this. My boys, when they were adolescents, were saying, Dad, you need to finish your book. I got a lot of friends who need to read this. So, I began to get that message. I wasn't the only guy out there thinking, if I just get the approval of a woman, don't ever rock the boat, don't piss her off, avoid conflict, hide, my wants and desires and wishes and bad behaviors, life will be smooth. And I realized I wasn't alone. And so what I've come to realize that a nice guy, and this applies to nice girls as well. A lot of women read the book, tell me how much they like it, both because they see themselves and their ex or their dad or their brother. Or I have women write me and say, my son's a nice guy. My 17-year-old is already letting his girlfriend walk all over him. What can I do to help him not be a nice guy? And I write back very nicely and say, nothing, unfortunately, because if he's already tending to let a woman direct his life and you come in and say, you shouldn't let her treat you like that. Okay. Who's he giving control to now? Is that woman
Mom.
Or his mother?
That's
so,
the monogamous relationship.
The monogamous
with the mom,
to mom. But, but the moms really do care. I mean, it's not
Sure,
it's not that they're being hurtful or have an agenda. They really want their son to be okay. And so they see that, yeah, I see that he is a nice guy for whatever reason. What can we do? So the basic building blocks of nice guy syndrome, I believe, begins very early in life when we are born. And what I'm about to say applies to every human being, not just nice guys. But when we're born, we're all very vulnerable. We're completely dependent on our caregivers. Our brains are very immature. And a male prefrontal cortex doesn't finish developing until we're like 25 years old. John, I know you were military for a lot of years. I think there's probably a good reason not to put anybody under 25 into a war zone with automatic weapons. That's why they're all coming back with PTSD. And anybody over 25 would probably say, hell no, I'm not going there. That's stupid, to go, let people shoot at me. So our brains aren't developed. We're needy, we're dependent, we're vulnerable, we're immature. And so every experience we have, and also babies are narcissistic by nature. They're the center of their universe. So every experience all of us had as infants, we internalized we're the cause of that, for good or for bad. So if we were hungry and didn't get fed, if we were cold and didn't get bundled up, if we were messy in our diaper and didn't get changed, if our parents were yelling, shaking us, neglecting us, just distracted, maybe they were sick. My mother had me, I'm thinking about it, at age 21, and then had my sister 2 years later, and I had an older sister. So my mother had 3 children, 3.5 to 0 when she was 21 years old.
Oh my God!
Okay. I think she had her hands full.
Yeah.
And then count my dad being a big baby too. So maybe add 4 of them.
There you
So
go.
we internalize all that as infants, not in our thinking brain, because that's not wired up, but in our primitive brainstem down here in what's called the amygdala. The amygdala controls fight, flight, freeze. So it's all about survival. It controls respiration, heart rate, and theory is it absorbs emotional memory about how we see ourselves and the world. Now, there's not words attached to it, not even pictures attached to it. It's all emotional memory that gets internalized. So if we are internalizing a belief at 3 days old, 3 weeks old, 3 months, 3 years old, that there's something wrong with me because I'm hungry and nobody feeds me, or, I'm cold and nobody wraps me up. We're not thinking it, we're just feeling it. And what every child does to deal with that discomfort, that dis-ease inside, is two things. They try to manage the uncomfortable feelings in the moment using a very primitive brain, very primitive nervous system. I sucked my thumb till I was in kindergarten. Maybe that was my way of managing uncomfortable emotion. Children might continue to wet their bed. They might cry a lot. They might not sleep at all. They might sleep all the time. They may eat all the time. They may not eat. They, throw tantrums, whatever. Every child is going to try to manage their discomfort in the moment. The second thing every child tries to do is to try to prevent those uncomfortable feelings from happening again. And if we believe we cause them to happen, that's pretty grandiose if you think about it. We have a similar grandiose other side of the coin. I can prevent them from happening. Well, we didn't cause them and we can't prevent them, but we do believe that we did and we can. So we develop, again, using a primitive brain, ways to try to manage our world and manage the people in it that prevents those painful, uncomfortable experiences. Now, in the psychological world, we call this neuroses. Neuroses are these survival defense coping mechanisms we developed at a young age to cope with the painful, uncomfortable, scary things happening around us. The problem is when we hit adolescence and they get reinforced and we bring them into adulthood, and now we're living our life as adults using the same coping mechanisms we learned at 3 weeks old. And they're called neuroses because they don't work, because they don't reflect actual tools to help us get our needs met, get love, survive in an adult body. Maybe they helped as a baby. Who knows? This is all we had, right? We went with what we had. So everybody has these neurotic life patterns. The nice guy is just one style, or nice girl is just one style. And so it can encompass a number of things. There's often a seeking of external validation and approval, often a hiding of things that we think might get rejected, trying to become what we think other people want us to be, trying not to rock the boat, going along to get along, avoiding conflict, giving to get, that's covert contracts I talk about. So it involves this real externalization. And for some nice guys, it also involves just a withdrawal. I'll just withdraw because I'm so bad, nobody could love me, so I won't even try. Other nice guys grew up with what I call the I'm so bad nice guy. They were the ones maybe acting out at an early age. They were the oppositionally defiant. Maybe they had ADHD. Maybe they were impulsive, getting kicked out of class, getting in trouble. Yeah, Will goes, yeah, that was me. That was me. And then at some point in life, maybe they started drinking and drugging early on. Maybe they were just rebellious, whatever. Just doing the opposite of whatever the authority figures wanted. Yeah, Will's going. Yeah. And then, but at some point,
feeling attacked.
At some point, they find Jesus. Basically, they get married, or go in the military, or have a child, or find religion, or just figure out this shit ain't working. Maybe they get sober, right? And now they go, I got to do better than this. And now they start trying to be nice guys. I'll quit pushing people away. I'll be kinder. I'll be more generous. I'll be less angry. I'll be less combative. I'll be basically, okay, all these things that weren't working, I'll just try to do the opposite. But as I say in 12-step programs, the opposite of crazy is still crazy. So yeah, by the way, one time I was doing a class and I used that quote and I thought, I'm pretty sure I got that out of 12 steps. And so I Googled who said the opposite of crazy is still crazy. Google came up, and I've even tried this with Perplexity.
I use that too.
Dr. Robert Glover, the author of No More Mr. Nice Guy, said that the opposite of crazy is still crazy. So I guess if you say something enough on the internet, or if people quote you on Reddit, the internet, it becomes. So I get credit for that. I did not make it up. So these are the nice guys I see. The I'm so good nice guys that are trying to do everything right. The I'm so bad nice guy. And by the way, the I'm so good nice guy, both are driven by what's called toxic shame. Toxic shame's that sense that I'm not good enough. I'm bad. I'm unlovable. The I'm so good nice guy has that shame pushed way down. I did. When my second wife was reading to me John Bradshaw's Healing the Shame That Binds You, and say, this is you, and talking about shame. I'm pretty intelligent. I already had a doctorate in marriage and family therapy. I didn't even grasp the concept or even see how it applied to me. I've come to understand it now, but my shame was so pushed down, and it was evident that it was there because I was trying really hard to be a good guy. Well, why would I try hard to be a good guy if I didn't already think I was a bad guy, right? If I didn't already think I was bad or evil or unlovable. Now the I'm so bad nice guy, his shame is right up here. When Will's going, that's me. It's right here. And they're going, yeah, I can try to be this. I'll put on the nice guy front, but I know anybody is close enough to me, they're going to find out like that. I'm this. And then, of course, they're going to attack me. They're going to leave me. They're going to cheat on me. They're going to whatever. So these are the patterns driving nice guys. And as you guys probably we can all see, these are why we tend to struggle in a relationship, letting people get close to us, being honest, being authentic, making our needs a priority, living up to our full potential in work and career, because our neuroses are keeping us really small and like a child. So breaking free from nice guy syndrome really is a form of kind of shedding those old neuroses, finding out why they don't work, and beginning to live in a way, going back to that what's healthy masculine, that's self-soothing, self-directed, differentiated, asking what do I want, what's important to me, how do I follow through on that, connecting with other men, being assertive, being authentic. Those are the things we can learn how to do even as adults.
A bunch of things you just said, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. But I was thinking about your conversation with your second wife, and it reminded me of a conversation that I had with my ex-wife, and I remember her clearly saying, you know what, you are just not a nice person. And my response was, what? I'm one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. And then you started
listing, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. The covert contracts, right? I've given you this, I've given you that. And with your second marriage, when she said she would rather have an asshole because at least they're consistent. So in consistency, at least they're being honest, right? And then you just mentioned, no matter, like the nice guys will say, no matter what I do, it's never enough, which is the covert contract, which we'll unpack here in a bit. In the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, you mentioned several times that nice guys are often unintentionally dishonest. It's actually, the nice guy is one of the most dishonest people you'll ever meet, not only with others, but also with themselves. And they hide, I'm going to try to quote here, but they hide their true feelings, suppress their needs, and act passive aggressively when their covert contracts aren't fulfilled. And then you go on further from that to say this dishonesty stems from fear of rejection, abandonment, or being perceived as selfish. And then that desire to live that smooth and easy life, that keeps them stuck in this frustration of resentment and preventing those authentic relationships. Now I lay that foundation.
That was good. I mean, I don't know anything else to say from there. You got it.
Well, I want to just unpack that a bit more. I want to explain to the audience what you mean by covert contracts, and then why this dishonesty and the covert contracts are so harmful to relationships, and then even further why they're so harmful to our overall fulfillment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
way to go, John.
Yeah, shoot. Let me pull this apart.
Take another fucking breath, right?
Okay. So I think a lot of people are surprised. Well, number one, maybe people are surprised when they pick up the book and they see the title, No More Mr. Nice Guy. And there's a certain paradox to it that we've all probably said, no more Mr. Nice Guy. I'm not taking this anymore. But we might also ask, why would a guy write a book teaching men how to be not nice? There's already enough not nice guys out there, right? So the title's got somewhat of a paradox to it. And I think when people get past that and they start reading nice guy, they're going, well, what's wrong with being a nice guy? So I don't recall if it's first chapter or second chapter, I dive in right away. Here is what's wrong with being a nice guy. And, Will read some of those at the beginning. You've just kind of summarized a lot of it, John, as well. That if you think about it, let's just keep it real simple to start with. If a nice guy is unconsciously or consciously, but usually unconsciously, trying to do two things. One is become what I think you want me to be in order for me to be liked and loved and get my needs met. So that means I'm always scanning, always reading, always measuring. So if I'm talking to you, John, and I see that you nod a little bit, I'm going, okay, good. I said the right thing. I'm on the right track. I'll keep doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. And then, but if I see you kind of looking with a little bit of perplexity or a little bit of a scowl or even like, some body language, I don't know. I'm going, oh, I said the wrong thing. I better not do that. I won't say that one, or I'll brush over that one, or I'll reframe it in another way that maybe I'll get him nodding again. Now, can you imagine living your whole life doing that in every moment?
I've done it.
Yeah, that's what the nice guy does. And the second thing that he's doing is, just the flip side of that is I got to hide everything from you that I think might make you think badly of me, not like me, reject me, scold me, punish me, leave me, flame me, cancel me, whatever it might be. So that means I got to hide a lot of shit. And I got to hide my needs, my wants, my feelings. And for most nice guys, their sexuality. Because we grew up in a culture that still has pretty negative messaging about sexuality. And nowadays, especially about male sexuality, that, I was reading something about, I think the director of the new, is it Snow White? The new Disney, kids movie, that has come out to said that any form of courting is,
Jesus.
You know where I'm going. It's any form of courting is a form of, let's just say, invasiveness of abuse.
Wow.
So,
well, I mean, really, really quickly, a lot of the stuff that I've seen on the internet recently too is a lot of women are saying, "I would choose the bear," meaning, hey, if they were alone in the woods and there was a man and a bear, they would choose the bear because the man is a worse animal.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. And honestly, women do a lot of shitty things.
For sure.
We
both
do.
sexes, right? Yeah,
we do. Well, yeah. I'm not going to say, well, one's worse than the other, because that debate doesn't get us anywhere. But we do. And again, I have empathy for things that women have had to put up with from men, just like I have empathy for things men have had to put up from women. And it isn't always conscious or intentional. Sometimes it's very unconscious and unintentional, the things we do, which brings me back to the nice guy. While we're trying to be a nice guy, if we're trying to become what we think you want to be, or we're hiding anything about us that might get us rejected, we're not authentic, we're not honest, we're not transparent, we're not real. And guess what? A lot of even the stuff that I come across from time to time out on the internet and social media that's even attacking of men is attacking of nice guys for good reason. And here's just an example. The covert contracts. And we use this to expand on the covert contract. I actually somehow stumbled onto a video. I don't watch a lot of videos. I'm not on social media, but I still bump into stuff. And I bumped into a video the other day that I think had 5 views, and it was written by a woman or done by a woman. And it was kind of just scenery unfolding while the woman talked. And basically she's saying, I'm a sexual person. I want to explore my sexuality. I want to be sexual with different men. I'm not looking that I got to be, exclusive or monogamous. I want to have positive experiences to learn about me, which I'm thinking, okay. She goes, but where can I find a man that isn't trying to manipulate me and playing games the whole time? Why can't I just find a guy that's basically saying the same thing? Yeah, I want to explore my sexuality too. Are you open to this? Blah, blah, blah. And she's saying, the men, and I can see the truth of this, especially with a lot of, pickup boot camps and red pill, is that the men do go out there playing games, manipulating. Can I manipulate the woman, through spinning plates or dread game or this or that to, to neg her into, having sex, lie to her. Well, you don't have to do that shit to get laid. So I have empathy for women that have to, get through all that stuff just to find a man that says, Yeah, I'm not looking for a girlfriend, but I'd like to have sex with you. You know, it just could be that. It's not that complicated, but it's like we make it so complicated. And again, we nice guys, while we think we're being nice, can be the worst of it, because some of the blogs and videos I've seen written for, if you find a blog or something on social media that says beware of the nice guy, and it's written by a woman, almost always what they will say, from their point of view, of course, is that I got to know this guy. I thought he was the greatest guy. He was there for me. He helped me, get through a difficult time I was going through. If I needed to talk to somebody, I could always call him and talk to him, and he helped me out. And I was just so grateful, and I just felt blessed to have this guy in my life, until out of the blue, he said he wanted us to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And the woman's going, no, we're too good of friends to do that. Basically, I'm getting too much value out of you giving everything to me to do that. And she goes, and then when I was surprised that he wanted to have sex with me, I didn't see that one coming, and which is a lie. Of course, women know why we talk to them. They have boobs and we want to see them naked. They know why we're doing those nice things.
Thank you for saying that, Robert.
Don't believe they're, they're saying, oh, I had no clue. Yeah, you had a clue. You just ignored it because you were getting so much value out of the way it was. So then when the guy didn't, after all that he gave, didn't get back what he wanted, covert contract, and I'll define that, he then did become a not nice guy. Maybe started attacking her, shaming her, spreading lies about her, being mean to her, because he didn't get what he wanted from all that he gave. And so the woman's saying, beware of nice guys. They're act so nice to you, but if you don't give them what they want, they then turn around and they're not nice. Well, they're right? They're in saying that, they are 100% right. Now, they do leave out the part that they were totally disingenuous. Is that the right word? Themselves, by saying, okay, you can make my car payments for me. You can listen to me talk about me, complain about my ex-boyfriend that keeps coming. I keep going back to, and he keeps treating me bad. I know you're just being a good friend. No, they know better. So the covert contracts of the nice guy syndrome that lead to this behavior, I'm gonna boil them down even more than they are in the book. But there's three basic covert contracts of nice guy syndrome. They're all if-then propositions. The three covert contracts of nice guy syndrome, and most nice guys have all three, some to more degree than other. All if-then propositions, and all are fundamentally manipulative. They're giving to get. So number one, if I'm a good guy, I'll be liked and loved, and the women who I want to have sex with will want to have sex with me. So I'm just a good guy. Now, I'm the scorekeeper of that, right? I'm good. I'm good. I listen to you talk about your problems. I do this for you. Now you're going to like me, right? You're going to want to be with me. You're going to treat me well. You're going to appreciate everything I do for you. And of course, you're going to want to have sex with me if it indeed it is a woman I want to have sex with. I mean, we might do this with a friend. We might do it with coworkers. We probably do it at work. So it's covert contract number one. If I'm a good guy, I'll be liked and loved. Covert contract number two. This is really insidious. If I meet your needs without you having to ask, then you will read my mind and meet my needs without me having to ask. So everything I give to you is because I expect something back. Appreciation, gratitude, sleeping with me, doing nice things for me.
Even just saying I love you with the expectation of hearing
for the other one.
Waiting for them to say I love you back.
Yeah. I love you, babe.
I've totally done that. I've walked out of the house, said I love you, and my wife didn't say it back. I'm like,
did you hear me?
Exactly. Wow. Didn't you hear me? Didn't you hear what I said? Right.
So that's covert contract number two. And of course, we're not really reading their minds. We're giving to them what we need to give. So again, there's strings attached to it. And it may not even be what they need, especially when we go out, and nice guys do this a lot. We get the fixer-upper. Oh, I'll listen to her talk about her problems. I'll help her get out of debt, or I'll help raise her self-esteem, or I'll help get her out of that bad job and find a better one. And then we think, oh, now once we do that, their lives are going to be great. They're going to appreciate us, and now we're going to have this great friend, girlfriend, whatever on our hands. I tell men, actually, though, when it comes to women, how you find them is how they are. So if she's in problematic situations when you meet her, assume that's her nature, and no matter how many good things you do for her, she'll still often find herself in problematic situations. That just tends to be who she is. So, and because they don't know there's a covert contract, they don't know they're supposed to be reading our minds and giving back to us. That's where our resentment, passive aggressiveness, rage comes in. That's what those women are writing about in those blog articles. And that's where, and often people will say, how do you know if you're using covert contracts? And I'll go, you usually know pretty quickly because you feel like you're not getting your share, you're feeling resentful, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling rageful, you're rehearsing stories of all the ways you're going to tell them off because they haven't done what you expected. So that's how you know it's covert contract. Covert contract number 3, going back to, I think, John's favorite one. If I do everything right, I'll have a smooth, problem-free life. It's this Peter Pan-ish view of the world. I can just do everything perfectly and nothing will ever go wrong. Nobody ever get upset at me. I never get fired, never go through a recession, never lose an erection. Everything will just go because I do everything right. Now, this is such a childish, infantile, Peter Pan-ish way of viewing the world. But believe me, I've lived that way for most of my life. And I still do it. Hey, I did this right. I did that right. How come you're not appreciating me? How come you're not happy? How come... It's kind of funny. I had, you guys may have heard Dr. Gary Chapman, who wrote the 5 love languages. And I had him on an Integration Nation call, my men's program, about 2 months ago. And he's very religious. He was a Baptist minister for like 50 years, and having been a minister myself as well, I cleaned my language up, appropriately with him. But I really wanted to ask, could it be that my love language is just fucking be happy? That's my love language. If I've done everything right, you'll be happy. And if you're happy, I feel loved. But every time you're unhappy, in a bad mood, complaining, it's like, haven't I done enough already to make you happy? Because that's my covert contract. I've done enough. You should be happy.
It's the words of affirmation love language, essentially, right? I want to hear how great I am.
And that's really, after doing that interview with Dr. Chapman, I came to realize, okay, just fucking be happy is both words and action of affirmation. I've done enough. I'm lovable enough. I've done, I checked off all the boxes. Now you're happy, and your happiness is the proof that I'm lovable. I'm good. But when you're unhappy, it's like saying, no, you haven't done enough, or I'm not lovable enough. Right. So these covert contracts hopefully people can see some of the obvious points here of why they often lead to us not being particularly nice guys, particularly loving. And with all the good things we think we've done, all our resentments, passive aggressiveness, vindictiveness, deceit, dishonesty, all of that's underground, and it all finds a way out. It all finds a way out. Even that all of our sexual impulses and desires and hidden behavior, whatever you repress gets expressed. There's another 12-step mantra. So it's going to find a way out. So this is why nice guys are often not nice, often beginning with those 2 agendas. I got to become what I think you want me to be, and hide anything from you that might get a negative response. And then shows up in those 3 covert contracts that if I'm good, I'll be liked and loved. If I meet your needs, you'll meet my needs. And if I do everything right, I'll have a smooth, problem-free life.
That's awesome, Robert. I know so much to unpack there. And to be with, and to understand. One thing I want to get into, like, how do we overcome this nice guy syndrome? But I thought
read the book.
Yes. I read.
Really, I got to go over that again.
No, just let me finish my question, please. Right?
I like it when he steps up like that.
I know, right? I knew. I felt different when I did that, Robert. So just listen to my
empowered.
I know. Just listen to my fucking question, okay? I just got because we did a lot in the relationship realm, but I just want to talk, or if you can mention briefly, what are some of the impacts of nice guy syndrome in the professional realm? Like, what does that look like? I thought, we have a lot of professionals out there that listen, so how does it show up at work and in our professional life?
And that's a good question because, when I wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, I'm a marriage and family therapist by training and by, my experience. I'm a relationship guy. Through most of my life, I promise you, relationship was a higher priority than work or career. It just, for a number of reasons, partly just my natural temperament, partly, my nice guy patterns. Um, and so when I wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, I was pretty much writing it from the perspective of relationship because that's where I was seeing it show up in my life so significantly and seeing it show up in a lot of the clients that I worked with. Now, once I got an agent to help me shop the book, he said, Robert, I think we need to add at least another chapter of how this shows up in work and career and just life in general. I said, well, I was thinking that might be a follow-up book. And his suggestion was put that into this one. So I did. So the I think it's the final chapter, talks about how to kind of, be the integrated man in life and work and career. Now, just before the book came out in 2003 in print, Barnes & Noble was the original publisher of it. They've since quit publishing books. I think they're still selling books, but they're not near as many Barnes & Nobles as they used to be.
Right. Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon does. And I'm grateful for Amazon too.
For sure.
And until all of a sudden one day Amazon says, oh, we've canceled you. We're not paying you, six-figure book royalties anymore. I'm going, it could happen. So when Barnes & Noble published it, they had something they called Barnes & Noble U. And it was an online university where they had authors teach courses basically to help them sell books. And, they were just coming into like around that time of the internet being a place that people actually went to buy stuff, right? Instead of going to a brick and mortar place to buy things. So they paid me to develop an 8-lesson course. And they didn't want it just to be a rehash of No More Mr. Nice Guy, but they wanted it to apply the principles of No More Mr. Nice Guy and maybe bring in a few other books so they could sell more books. And so I wrote a course called Nice Guys Don't Finish Last, They Rot in Middle Management. And I still teach that course. After Barnes and it was Barnes and Noble's most popular course. So apparently it appealed to a lot of people. It was high rated. They quit doing that after a period of time. So I just started doing it myself for a number of years. And then about 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, I turned it into an on-demand video course. So it's still really popular. And so nice guys do a lot of things to sabotage themselves at work and career. If you just think about some of the things of how they might show up, going along to get along. Well, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to speak up. I don't want to draw attention to myself for good or for bad. So maybe you don't speak up in meetings, or if somebody else takes your idea and runs with it and doesn't give you credit, you just don't say anything. Maybe somebody comes up with a harebrained idea like your boss or your CEO, and you're going, that's going to be a disaster. Well, you keep it to yourself because you don't want to, say it's going to be a disaster and get negative attention. So that going along to get along, the avoidance of conflict. You don't want anybody upset with you. Your boss, keeps giving you all these overtime demands. I remember years ago, I was in the Seattle, Washington area in Bellevue. And so there were like 40,000 Microsoft employees. And I was working with a lot of Microsoft employees, and Amazon came along as well. And one of them was in PR at Microsoft. And he came to work with me. He said, Robert, I never have any time. Both my wife and I work at Microsoft. I take my laptop home every night. I do on every weekend. I never have any time because at that time, Microsoft had a culture based on, Bill Gates's, who said, I never took a day off in my first 7 years of running the company. They kind of, had that culture of, work 24/7. We'll buy you all the Red Bull, all the pizza you want, stay at work. And so I asked him, well, what's your aspiration at Microsoft? And he said, I want to be a director or a VP someday. And I said, well, what's preventing you from getting all your work done? And he showed me his schedule on his phone. He had meetings all day long. He was in meetings to talk about the meetings they just had. And so he said, so I have to take my laptop home every night, every weekend. My wife does too, just to get my work done. And I said, okay, well, if you want to be a VP, you have to start acting like a VP. I said, do VPs say yes to every meeting request they get? He goes, no, of course not. I go, okay, so VPs say no. So if you want to be a VP someday, start acting like a VP. Start saying no to meeting requests that aren't relevant or meaningful that you need to be at. He goes, okay, I'll try that. So he started doing that, risk rocking the boat a little bit, maybe a risk saying to his boss, no, I'm not taking my laptop home tonight. I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe he started getting a little bit bolder. And after about a year of that, he said, Robert, I'm going to apply for a position to be the CEO, that time Steve Ballmer, to be his personal speechwriter. It's a 2-year gig, travel all over the world doing speeches, writing the speeches for Ballmer. And Ballmer was notoriously an asshole, as Bill Gates apparently was known to be as well. And he got the job. And he did. He was Ballmer's speechwriter for 2 years. And then right near the end of his tenure, he called me and said, Robert, I got to get in to talk to you. Tomorrow, there's a meeting of all the Microsoft VPs, every top in Microsoft. Ballmer can't make it, and I'm supposed to run the meeting in his stead. And I said, okay, come in, we'll talk. So he came in, and I said, listen, everything Ballmer knows, right? You've been writing his speeches for 2 years. I said, so you know everything you need to know. He said, well, what if they ask me questions? I don't know the answer. I don't want to look stupid. I said, here's your assignment. During this vice president meeting, I want at least 2 times for you to say, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out.
There you go.
Twice. I want you to do that 2 times. And later that night, I get a message, and he said, it was a great meeting. It went amazing. I only had to say once I didn't know, but I'll find out. Every VP said it was so amazing. And he later left and went to Amazon and, skyrocketed. So he began by seeing how was his nice guy patterns of not being able to say no, of not having to have boundaries, how that was affecting him. And once he quit being such a nice guy, just saying no, right? He began to make that climb because he was already a talented, competent person. So those are some ways it works against us. Being codependent in the workplace, making everybody else's needs more important than your own. You're on a team that maybe no one else is dragging, or they're dragging along and not doing it. So you do more than your share to get them along. Or a coworker is behind on their project, so you sacrifice working on your projects to help get theirs done. Or maybe that fear, the FOMO, or not FOMO, but the fear of being found out, the imposter syndrome. You get a new position and your boss gives you an assignment and you don't even know where the tools are or where to get the information to do it. And you're afraid if you ask him, he'll go, well, you're supposed to know that. So you work way too hard for months just trying, because you don't know where to look for the stuff. So you waste a lot of time instead of just asking your boss, can you direct me where I could find the information to fill? And usually your boss will go, yeah, it's there. Go look there. So because we don't want to be found out. So all of these kind of things come into the workplace, whether you're working for the man, getting a paycheck, or even, nowadays everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's taking their online marketing course, and they're going to build a click funnel, or they're going to be a content creator or an influencer, like us. And yeah. I want to work for me. I'm going to be a digital nomad. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But, they're shitty self-starters. They procrastinate. They can't complete or follow through. And they think that they're going to be an entrepreneur. But, they live in a constant state of stress just because of how much they put off, how many things they try to do on their own because they don't know how to delegate, or they're too cheap to delegate. Yeah, that's all me. And so all of these things can work against us in the workplace. And then finally, getting involved with a coworker. Never do that. Never do that. That'll bite you on the ass quicker than you know.
I married my coworker.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Gates did too.
Right,
he married somebody who worked for him, so it does happen. But in general, probably not a good idea. Don't get caught up in getting crushes on people you work with.
Well, let me just share one story. Like, I did work in a corporate environment for like 6 years. And I didn't realize, as you're telling the story about the corporate world, and as I'm like understanding, I was definitely in a nice guy syndrome, because I was in a relationship, and I was trying to meet all of her needs, trying to be super nice, trying, to do everything that you've talked about the nice guy to be, and it blew up in my face. and my heart was broken. And I'm realizing with like my worldview just completely shattered. So I'm in this job that I didn't like, and I found a way out. I started, doing some work with the Artist Way, started writing my own, my life, and just really like, who I can be.
Doing your morning pages.
I was doing
right?
my fucking morning page. Like they have saved my life. I mean, they changed my life and saved my life for sure. But I remember like I working in this corporate job. I'm about 2 months from like I already wrote my letter of resignation. Like I knew I was going, and we're in a department meeting with like 300 people. And you're so right. Like everybody is there. I was one of the sheeps until this moment. And, everyone just like, and going towards middle management, if I would have stayed at this company, we have 300 people in this meeting. The VPs of this department are on stage, and about for like 3-4 months ahead of time, they're giving out pink slips, and there's always rumblings, amongst all the sheep of like, oh my God, am I going to get fired? Am I going to get a pink slip? So I was like, fuck it. I'm in this meeting. Like I didn't care at all because I knew I was leaving. I raised my hand and I knew the VP. I'm like, hey, Marcia, there's a lot of pink slips going out. I was wondering if you can address that right now. Right. And everyone just like kind of gave me a look. I know. It's like, right. She addressed it like in a proper way, the pink slip thing. After that meeting, like people literally or see me in the hallway or like, or see me at my desk. I'm like, oh my God, you're the bad person. Like they're literally like almost trying to shame me for fucking speaking up for everybody. And then, so that's what happened with like, the people that I was working with. But then the management, all of a sudden I'm in their offices and now I'm like their confidant. It was amazing just to kind of like, pull myself out of like, oh, I'm not going to, raise any kind of questions or raise any hell within the coworkers. But as soon as I popped out, all of a sudden I became someone very valuable to them. It was very, very, very strange.
And then you resigned.
And then I resigned. Yeah. And then I fucking resigned. You know what I mean? It was like I shook off the nice guy and all that bullshit. I stepped up, for something that I felt was important for everybody. And it was amazing what transpired after that.
Well, let's add one more piece to this whole thing of what keeps us from living up to our potential. And we'll bring the Buddha into this one. And, the Buddha said that attachment is the cause of all suffering. That's a paraphrase of it. And he said, it's the human condition to get attached. It's the human condition to suffer, and we can use our suffering to transmute it into joy. The way I put that is that attachment's not only the cause of all suffering, it's the cause of all anxiety and the cause of all non-action. Because once we get attached to a specific outcome, get an emotional attachment, like I don't want to lose my job, or I want to get this promotion, or I want this woman to like me, or I want this woman to treat me well, or I want this woman to never leave me. As soon as we get attached, we lose our integrity, we lose our authenticity, we are going to up our suffering level, we're going to up our anxiety level, we're going to up our taking powerful action, the lack of taking powerful action. And so the way that I put it is that how do we apply this? And I call it, we work at becoming either outcome agnostic. I love that term. I didn't make that one up either. If I say it enough, maybe I'll get credit. Work at becoming outcome agnostic, or another way of putting it is equally okay with every possible outcome. And I tell you what, you in that meeting, if you sounded like you were outcome agnostic because you let go of an attachment of keeping that job, you were going to be okay with any possible outcome. If it led to you getting a pink slip, all right, probably getting one anyway. You already knew you were leaving. And because you were non-attached, you could be bold. And now all of a sudden people in management they don't have their heads too far up their asses. They're going to recognize that kind of boldness is valuable, right? And so they actually rewarded that kind of boldness. And I had the same experience. I told you I was a minister for 8 years. When I was at the point I knew I was going to resign being a minister, I also knew I was going to leave my first marriage. I'd gotten fired from my first ever minister job. And so I said, I don't ever want to get fired again. So I'm not going to rock the boat. I'm not, And so towards really the last 6 months, kind of like you, of that minister job, I just fucking started preaching what I really believed. What I really believed to be true. Not like, oh, what will get the best response, or what won't get me fired. And it's funny, I didn't get fired for it. And not only did I not get fired for it, people were coming up to me, every Sunday after, Robert, that's one of your best sermons yet. Robert, you hit that one out of the park. Robert, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm going, What the fuck? Why wasn't I preaching what I really believed a long time ago? Well, because I'd gotten fired for it one time. Yeah. I like I told you guys before we started, I did not start swearing till my mid-30s, right? So that was probably just a year or two later that I, even could say, maybe darn.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
by gosh.
Oh my God. Well,
So I'm catching up for
no,
for lots.
all good. Well, let's get into some of the ways that we can, like the resolutions here with solving kind of the problems of nice guy syndrome. And I thought it'd be good.
Just buy the book. I
Right,
mean,
well,
let's keep it simple.
Yes, yeah, we'll buy the book. Okay, you definitely buy the book. But I thought it'd be a good place to start because you talk a lot about sex. You talk a lot about,
You noticed that about me.
Well, I mean, in the book, I mean, like literally, it's like 20 pages about sex, sexual expression. I think
at
it's
least.
very, very important. I mean, it's like a primal thing with it. I mean, everybody. So, but I think what's a big part, or I really appreciated, is like, why is it so important to share your feelings with your partner? I thought it'd be a good place to start this conversation.
Actually, I don't think it is.
Okay, what is then?
Maybe
Yeah.
I changed my mind.
No, I don't know. I mean, hey, go for it. I mean, I just thought because that's like one thing that we've seen with the work John and I are doing. It's like feeling and expressing your feelings is very difficult for men.
Oh, it is.
And,
I don't disagree with that.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, I thought and then sharing your feelings with your partner, because I saw so many great anecdotes you provided in the book of like the men, having these experiences with, or having these troubled relationships, whether it's a marriage or whether it's an engagement or something like that. And then they start sharing their feelings and things really start to shift.
Well, let's give it a nuance. Okay. I'm a therapist. I've already mentioned that. Or at least I was. I don't call myself that anymore because I let my license go years ago when I quit practicing in the state where I was licensed. So I'm a coach now. So I often say that, I say some maybe paradoxical things for a therapist. And one of them is, I think feelings are overrated. And I think talking about your feelings is even more highly overrated. Now let me give it the nuance. Okay. Because we're all black and white, and this is the internet. And if somebody wants to clip that and use it in whatever way, they can, right? So, of course, feelings are important. And on my men's program, Integration Nation, one of my coaches posted a diagram on the timeline just last week that was like almost like a color wheel that shows like the 60,000 shades of color. Men can see like 16 shades of color. Women can see like 60,000 or something like that. That's why all their makeup has so many different names. The female eye and brain just sees a lot more shades of color than the male eye and brain in general, within the bell curve general of men and women. So this wheel had like, about 7 or so basic emotions. And then the next we circle out broke them down even more. And another one, there must have been a few thousand, words to use for emotions. And I said, I playfully posted, is this going to make us feel more like a woman or make us, understand more what the women are trying to say to us? And I'm thinking it was overkill. I don't need, 2,000 words to express my feelings. When I was in grad school, they basically said sad, mad, and glad are the basic feelings. Now, now we keep expanding that. If you watch Inside Out, you find out, about more feelings. Yeah, watch it if you never watched it. Especially because they give so much credit to what we call the negative feelings. So when we don't know what we're feeling, we are disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from the world, disconnected from others. Okay. I remember taking walks, going back to my second wife again. We would walk around our neighborhood, just long walks, and she would try to get me to talk about my feelings. And I could tell her what I thought. I think this. No, that's not a feeling. And I go, well, I think I feel this. No, that's still not a feeling. I go, all right, I feel like you're being a bitch to me. No, that's not a feeling either, right? And we would walk, and it's kind of like I sucked at math in school, mainly because I didn't care and didn't pay attention. So when I got called to go to the blackboard, I was always the one that, don't call on me. I had to go to the blackboard to work a problem. And I did not realize I was in college that mathematics is all built on principles. And if you understand the principles, you can do any problem. I didn't get that till college. till I actually read it in a book because the teachers were terrible teachers prior to that. So anyway, I'm up there trying to figure out how to do a problem, and I have no clue where to even start doing this math problem. It felt the same way walking the blocks with my wife, who was trying to get me to feel like she felt as a woman, like she would, when we did occasionally have sex, she sometimes would cry after she climaxed. I go, oh, okay, give me a chance to hold her. I like being, the strong man and holding her. And I remember one time she said, how come you never cry after you come? I go, I don't know. I never thought about it. Why would I cry after I come? Well, I do. I haven't figured that one out yet either. I don't know why you cry after you come. But she did want me to feel like she felt. Right. So one thing I did learn, don't try to learn to express your feelings from a woman, even from a woman therapist, because they feel differently than we do. Okay. So I did, from those walks, begin kind of getting a sense of difference of what was the difference in the feeling. Now you go to workshops and seminars, you go, where do you feel that in your body? And what color is it? I go, fuck that. You learned that in some workshop to give it a color so you sound like it. No, usually most of the stuff we feel is like we feel a heat or a tightness or a vibration or a soreness or a stiffness. Those typically is what most men feel. We feel in our body. That's what a feeling is. We experience it physiologically in our nervous system. Our body is the base of emotions, right? So if we can learn to pay attention to what we feel in our body, I don't think after that, once we kind of be able to just, okay, I know, I sense that feeling now. Well, there's not a lot more to talk about, right? There really isn't. Now, where I think the best place to do that is with men, where I do workshops here in my office, 8 guys. I was doing for a weekend. I was doing, when I left my private practice in Seattle, so leading 5 groups a week. That's where men can learn to feel their feelings. And usually, I think, what you're alluding to, Will, is what happens is men just kind of freeze. We're just numb. We don't know what we're experiencing inside our bodies, let alone how to give a name to it. Right. And by the way, all of you listening, if you say, I feel like, that's not a feeling. If a like follows it, it's not a feeling. Or if you say, I feel you are, that's not a feeling either. Right. So what if we just said, oh, I just feel a tightness in my chest? And what if we just kind of just breathed into that and just kind of got curious about that? I love curiosity, not analysis. We men, we get caught up and, we got to analyze, think about, research everything. Just get curious. Why, when my wife gets that look on her face, why do I immediately try to fix it? Well, I've broken it down to the very steps. Well, I try to fix it because I feel this tension inside. And I'm not thinking it, but the tension is almost like, I'm going to die. It feels that strong. I'm going to die when she gets that look. Well, I know I'm not going to die. I'm just getting curious here, right? I know I'm not going to die. So as they often say, if you're feeling it, you've felt it before. Okay, when might I have felt this before? Well, probably as a child, if I got a scowl from my mother or my grandmother, maybe even in the hospitals. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but it makes sense that a woman scowling at me means something bad's about to happen. So I go into a reactionary state. Well, what if I just felt that? Instead of reacting, kind of the Viktor Frankl mode of this, I respond right in that space, take a breath, stay grounded, watch my stories going on inside, watch the stories I'm making up about the other person, get curious about what might be going on with them rather than just assuming. And then instead of trying to fix it, just breathe into it and got curious and maybe had a conversation and just talked about what's going on between the two of us right now. Now, I don't know that requires like a lot of feeling words. Because again, you can get into a therapy group or, where all we do is just talk about feelings. I think feelings are just meant to get your attention to take some kind of action or maybe quit taking certain actions. I don't think feelings are meant to be talked about a lot. I think they're meant to just get our attention and then get curious and then say, okay, what's the healthiest response open to me right now? And then respond. Now we don't have to go back and talk about everything we felt to get from point A to point B. I just don't know that it serves a lot of purpose. Early on, it probably helps to have some of these conversations. But again, do this with men first. And then I found we can do it much more effectively with women. Because with women, we're still probably wanting their approval. We're still wanting to, what I call, maintain the possibility of availability. That's another sex discussion. Where, if they're pissed, they're not going to have sex later on. My wife is actually the opposite. She says, I'll never say no to you for sex, even if I'm mad at you, just because I'm never mad at your cock. So I'm thinking, okay, it's all right if she gets mad. It's not a bad thing. So I don't have to get her over being mad, right? I just have to notice to what happens in my body when she looks like she's mad at me. That's all. That's the work I think that is beneficial.
Well, our next question was going to be about mindfulness in overcoming being a nice guy, and I think that answer was that answer. What you just mentioned there, taking that breath, being present, being curious. So I think that's probably a good place to stop. And I know you have a session that you're going to be leading here in 10 minutes. So we want to give you that time. But Dr. Glover, this has been phenomenal. Your book, again, No More Mr. Nice Guy, for our audience, a proven plan for getting what you want in love, sex, and life. Phenomenal read. And I've read it twice. I'm sure I'll read it 3 or 4 more times. So keep doing what you're doing. We very much appreciate you being here. Will, I'll turn it over to you, my friend.
This is loaded. I mean, God, I wish we could have got a little bit more into, you talked a lot about
my interviews always go way longer than the host.
Yeah,
I don't know why that is, actually.
One thing that I really enjoyed, and I'm just going to put this out there for the audience, but definitely get the book, is how I really enjoyed how much you talked about using sex as a tool in order to overcome your nice guy syndrome. As whether it's like you have a shame around sex, and then how to overcome that, and how to ask for what you want, how to get what you want. It's just, I really, really appreciated this book. And there's so many different, just so many different excellent tools here within this.
Well, and so many of the great mindful teachers have talked about the power of sex to do our deepest work. Of course, Freud did many years ago, but like Osho, talked about, using sex to go do our deeper work. Dr. David Snarch, who wrote Passionate Marriage, calls it the sexual crucible. David Data, again, talks about, finding God through sex. So sex isn't just this thing, that it's not just fucking. And it's not just, doing something bad or something good. It truly is the portal to the depths of who we are, because by nature, we are sexual beings. We were created via a sexual act. We were put here to be sexual. I give my Christian friends shit when I say, what was God's first commandment to Adam and Eve?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Don't eat the apple.
Multiply.
And I said, go fuck a lot. That's what he said. Yeah. Now, the Bible, puts it in a colloquialism, be fruitful and multiply. All right, do translate it. Go fuck a lot was God's commandment to Adam and Eve. So
we're about to get struck down by lightning.
There we go.
You think, yeah. Wow. Cool. Yeah. Well, let's just
all of a sudden, oh man, what do we say next?
No. I mean, hey, you're. I mean, it's like I just really enjoyed hearing that within the book. Like, there's the work could be done, in that intimate space, and you have to take the courage to do that. I think you can. There's a lot of great guides in the book as far as like how to make that happen for yourself. And just the awareness you bring to this book, you brought to the podcast, you bring to our audience, it's just so incredibly valuable, because there's a lot of nice guys out there. I know I grew up as one. A lot of my family are still a bunch of nice guys. A lot of people that I see in New York City are these nice guys, and it is just not the way to be. You got to grab your balls, take your life by the balls, and just fucking go out there and just and be badass. And being badass is listening to yourself and working from the inside out, right? Instead of like seeking that approval in order to validate your existence. It's just fucking a horrible way of being. So,
nailed it.
Boom.
Yeah.
There it is.
Thank you so much. We're just going to close at one breath, guys, and then you can get to your meeting, Dr. Glover. Really appreciate you being here today. And everyone that's listening, we appreciate you being here and listening and supporting our podcast as well. So with that said, just exhale all your breath out. Let all those whatever drop into your feet, and then take a big breath in. A little bit more. Then exhale, let it go out. And again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Robert Glover, for joining our show again.
Fantastic having you here.
Yeah.
So much to learn and much, much more that we did not get to cover in this book.
Yeah.
So check it out if you haven't.
Yeah.
For our audience, thank you so much for joining us. For Dr. Glover, we did not ask you. For our audience, if they want to get a hold of you, if they want to find out more, what's the best way for them to do that?
If you're looking for a men's program, integrationnation.net. And my courses, my workshops, my podcasts, my consultation, drglover.com.
Easy enough. Easy enough. Well, thank you again. And thank you to our audience. Until next time, take care. Peace.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Glover. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you walk away with some new tools and insights to guide you on your life journey. New episodes are being published every week, so please join us again for some meaningful discussion. For more information, please check out mentalkingmindfulness.com.